right. Well, we're continuing on here with Sarada Devi and her divine play. A look at the divine feminine in one way of talking about it. God as mother is another way of talking about it. Um, and we're on the chapter called Mother of the Ramakrishna Order, page 419 on the last paragraph. And it looks like we're going to finish the chapter today. So Mother's been traveling quite a bit. She's been at the Bodhan house for the last 2 weeks, I think, and we're still there. And so one afternoon in 1920, a mere 102 years ago, one afternoon in 1920 at Bodhan house, Holy Mother was lying in bed. She wasn't well, but she was talking with her women devotees. In the course of conversation, they spoke of the monks of the monastery. Maku said about a monk, "He's a dandy monk. He's neat and clean and wears expensive clothes." Nalin commented that he was the son of a very wealthy man, and that was why he had a little bit of fastidiousness. Holy Mother remarked, "Look, it is renunciation and only renunciation that is needful in monastic life. Why is he so much inclined to external paraphernalia? Renunciation is the main ornament of a monk. He who collects all the ingredients of a curry, will he not gather a little salt?" This is a beautiful teaching. It's, of course, I read it earlier. God, these things are so challenging. I read them and I'm like, boy, I got to do some house cleaning again. I went through my inventory, looked around my room, and I was thinking, okay, what have I gotten any salt yet? Have I gathered all the ingredients for enjoyment in here? That's the way we have to be. It's like when we read these truths, we have to go do our grocery list, look through our life and see, okay, how am I doing? Is there anything I need to change or could change? Is there somewhere that I haven't been watching that something has snuck in or crept in? And so to constantly keep a watch on ourselves, to hold ourselves, into account. And so, so we have to watch that. We have to watch those things. This idea it's a good hint to hear the way she says that, you have to watch the mind, because if you start collecting the ingredients, the mind might let you get away with that if you're not being clear in your thinking, where you go get all the ingredients for what you enjoy, right? You let the whatever, you let the ingredients hang around you, and you don't think it's such a bad thing, but secretly you sort of enjoy having them around you. And she just says, look, if you're collecting the ingredients, aren't you going to get the thing itself before long? So be very careful. So watch yourself, make sure that you're not compromising in areas that might not seem so dangerous, but could lead to something dangerous. A good example of this for me was when I got caught at the coffee shop. Before I was a Swami, but when I was a brahmacharya, Swami had gone to India. I've told the story probably a dozen times, but anyway, he went to India, and I was out walking and passed a coffee house on the corner of Polk and California. And I thought, I'll just go have a cup of coffee and do people watch out the window. And so I went and got a cup of coffee, and turns out one of the nuns walked by just about that time and saw me in the window. Didn't say anything. I didn't know she walked by, but when she apparently thought Swami needed to know about it. So when he got back from his trip, she told him, and he called me in. And that's pretty much what he told me. He says, nothing wrong with going to a coffee shop. That's not the point. He says, the point is that you're placing yourself in an area where your samskaras can be awakened. And he says, you don't know who's going to walk in, or what you're going to experience there, or who's going to sit next to you, or what's going to happen. So he says, we need to watch ourselves, keep a very strict guard about where you're going and what you're doing, especially at that time. I think he was talking to me as a brahmachari at that point, but to be wary, don't just think that, oh, it's no big deal, I can do this. It's like, because once you start doing that, then the thing that was one step beyond that is now only one step beyond that. It's no longer two steps beyond that. And you might compromise a small, meaningless little compromise again and take another step a little farther out of the circle. And then in time, you find yourself completely out of the circle, you know. And so he's saying, Mother's saying, be very careful about this. Keep on guard. Watch your mind. Watch your thoughts. Watch your compromises. Watch your attractions. Watch the things you invest in and are buying. And because that's something I've noticed in the last 2 years living on my own here outside of the monastery. In the monastery, I never thought about things that I needed around the room. You know, I never thought of those things. The room came furnished, and that's the way it was, and I just stayed with that. Of course, you know, when I started doing these online classes, I did paint a wall in the monastery. But you know, so but I noticed that being on my own out here, I don't know if it's because I'm not in the monastery or if it's because I bought all the or had to collect all the stuff for the room. It wasn't provided this time. Some of it was, but you know, but the mind, I've noticed, like for 2 years now, if I had bought everything that my mind had raised up, you know, into my awareness over the last 2 years, I wouldn't be able to fit in my room. It's like, you know, I would get one desk and then the thing would be, oh, you better get a good desk chair for that. And, you know, then yeah, I didn't do that. But if you did get a desk chair, then the next thing that my mind was like, I was sitting in this chair, it was like, hey, why don't you get one of those lamps that kind of comes up and hangs over the chair? And then you'd really be able to read, and it'd be really cozy and really nice to do. And then it was like, oh, well, why don't you get a little blanket that you can throw over the back of your chair, and you can get, you know, wrap yourself in that, and it'll do that. And of course, you're going to need the plant. And you know, just yesterday or day before yesterday, I saw somebody that had these green plastic vines that they had bought that were on the wall that looked like it was growing down a stone wall, and I thought that would be a cool thing in the background for my talk, for my classes. And it's never ending, you know. And I really understand, like, if living out in the world, my God, I would go crazy trying to control myself, you know, if I had money and the wherewithal to be out there and exposed to all these things all the time. You know, I start to understand why people have storage sheds. But that's where we have to be very careful. We're not here to collect things. We're not here to gather things for ourselves. You know, we're here to serve and to love and to provide for other people's needs. So we're welcome to buy the things that we need. We're welcome to provide for our family and our friends, right? But anything beyond the necessities, and I'm not going to get legalistic about it, but there, you should draw your own line somewhere and say no more. We've got all we've needing. At this point, we're only going to replace, you know, and then anything, the extras that you have, that then you can give that in service in any way that Mother inspires you. Because as householders, that's the path. You know, that's how you progress on the householder path is by taking the things that Mother has given you and providing for first yourself, second your family, third, according to the scriptures, the holy people, you know, the temple and the monasteries and those places. And then beyond that, your society. The society that you live in is your responsibility as a householder. And so be aware of that in your life. You know, make sure when you're out buying things, don't just buy them because you assume Mother gave you the money, you can do whatever you want with it. You can, but you can also tie yourself to an anchor and throw yourself in the sea. Why do that? So be careful about these things. In March of that same year, Holy Mother was under Ayurvedic treatment. One afternoon, Lakshmi and Ramlal and his daughter, Krishnamayi, came to visit the Mother on their way to attend a festival at Arkanalai. Does anybody know how that town name is said? Archanalai? Anyway, I would say text it to me later, but that doesn't make any sense. One afternoon, Lakshmi and Ramlal and his daughter, Krishnamayi, came to visit the Mother on their way to attend a festival at Archanalai in Entally. Ramlal bowed down to the mother and then went downstairs to meet Sharadananda. Lakshmi entertained Holy Mother with her companions, with her singing and acting as she used to do for the master in Dakshineshwar. By and by, Lakshmi raised the issue of the future temple in Karmarpakur. Lakshmi asked, when the temple of the master is built, will it be under our management? Will our children of our family be worshippers there? An interesting insight into that time. They were aware. This master is something. There's going to be something happening here. There's going to be a temple built in his hometown. Are we going to get the benefit of it, materially and as a family? And Holy Mother replied, how can that be possible? As the devotees have no caste, so the monks of the Ramakrishna order do not observe caste distinctions. People of various countries, including Westerners, will come and stay there, and they will partake of prasad. We are connected with all sorts of devotees, whereas you are householders. You have your society and will have to follow your social customs regarding marriages of your children and other things. How can you live with monastics? The mother continued, the monks will build a separate house for you, as you have now. Lakshmi asked, will Raghuvir and Shitala be installed inside the master's temple? Mother, how's that possible? Asked Holy Mother. Those are your household deities, and the women folk of your family will worship them during festivals. The monks will build a separate small brick building for Raghuvir and Shitala. When you, Ramlal, or Shibu visit Karmarpakur, you will stay and eat with them. Lakshmi then went downstairs and reported everything that the mother had said to Ramlal and Sharadananda. They wholeheartedly accepted the mother's proposal. Thus, during her lifetime, Holy Mother settled the management of the future Ramakrishna temple at the master's birthplace. There's a footnote here. It says, in accordance with this settlement, the master's birthplace was handed over to Belur Math by a document that was signed by Holy Mother and others on the 27th of July, 1918. Prior to this, a small piece of land contiguous to the birthplace was purchased by Belur Math on the 14th of December, 1917. Construction on the present temple started after the acquisition of the master's house on the 16th of July, 1946, and it was dedicated on the 11th of May, 1951. Wow, that's getting pretty modern. All right. From the very inception of the Ramakrishna order, Holy Mother nourished the monks and devotees with her love and her affection. She demonstrated the ideal of the order through her own life. She always pointed out the goal of monastic life, purity and renunciation, unselfishness and truthfulness, mutual love and respect, selfless service and dependence on God. To the householders, she also set the example of an ideal householder's life. In times of difficulty or crisis, she protected the order with her wise counsel and spiritual power. She was the order's source of inspiration and spiritual power. That is why she is called the Mother of the Order. All these amazing things in here, actually, to look at. Demonstrating the ideal of the order through her own life. This is the main modus operandi, shall we say, of the Ramakrishna order. The only instruction that they gave to the monastics when they first came here to the United States, they said, go and live the life. It's our life. It's through our life of renunciation and spiritual inspiration. It's through that people are touched. It's not just words, not just classes, not just readings and whatnot. It has to be the quality of our lives, and that's for each and every one of us. Our lives are what we believe, right? Not what's in your head. It's the way that you live that betrays what you really think and what you really believe. How much dependence on God does your day involve? How many times today have you asked God about something, about doing something, or about whether it's a good plan for your future. How many plans do you make about your house and about your vacations and about your travels and about your pastimes? How many times do you go to the Lord and ask the questions about those in your spiritual life, in your practice? And when you have a question, when you're not sure about something, how many times does it actually occur to you to put the question to the mother and to sit in silence to listen to the answer? As a monk, one of the things about being in the monastery that I hated was the fact that you couldn't do anything without asking permission. Everything you had, anytime you wanted to do anything or go any place, in particular, you always had to go and ask Maharaj. You always had to get the permission. And it used to bother me because Swami Vedananda, we'd be working in Olima out there, and he would call the monastery every night and give a full report to Swami, what had been done, what had been accomplished, where we were in the process, and any questions that we had arisen for us or things like that, he would ask Swami. And it always bothered me because, at that point, he was in his late 50s. He was my age. Oh, my God. He was my age. And still asking permission, and still checking out everything that was being done with Swami. And at the time, that just bothered me. I thought, gosh, he's 60 years old and he still has to ask permission for all this stuff. What's going on with this? And, and then I saw it's about ego busting. It's about not being the actuator of your life, but allowing the mother, allowing the divine within you to be the mover in your life. And so you're always checking in, always taking the pulse. What do you think, Thakur? What do you think, Ma? And so even still in the monastery, it's like that. Everything that we do, there's permission involved and asking what should be done. So try that, especially in your practice. If you want to change something in your practice, or something's not working, or if you have an idea you're not sure about, go first to mother, get that answer, and then go to your guru and share that answer and see what your guru has to say about it. But everything in your life is between you and the beloved, right? It's not between you and yourself, you and your enjoyments, you and your wants and desires. It's between you and your beloved. And so live life as teamwork with God, right? Let it develop your faith. If you aren't asking questions or asking permissions or sending out prayers for what you think and need, then you won't think to thank God when they happen, and when the answers come to you, and when the blessings arrive. You wouldn't have asked for them, so that notion of where they came from might not naturally occur to you on a regular basis, And so this is an option here that for living, that we live the ideal through our life. Pointed out the goal of monastic life. Yes, this was good. This one was good for me. Purity and renunciation, unselfishness and truthfulness, mutual love and respect, selfless service, and dependence on God. She also set an example for the ideal householder's life. So what would be some of the things that Holy Mother has done? This would be a good thing to ask. I'm just going to put it out there if you guys want to answer it. What are some of the things that we've read about Holy Mother that are great advice to householders, or great examples of how of what's good for us? I'll start with the first one that's in my mind, is that she was constantly scanning all of her friends, all of her acquaintances, all of the monks, all of the people at the temple. She was always scanning the crowd to find out if there was a way to help, if there was a way to serve. She always knew who was sick. Who was like that was Shiva at the Hollywood temple. For as much as he may have driven me crazy at times, that was one thing about him, is that he always knew who was sick, who was in the hospital, whose kids were not doing well, who had passed away, all of who needed a caretaker. He always knew, and would always make announcements at the breakfast table every day. He would always have to have his 10 minutes where he would demand everyone's undivided attention. But he would always use that to say, oh, I was talking to such and such, and they are needing this, or this person's not well. If anybody can make a card and send it, that would be great. I have the address. Talk to me later. And so in your life, calculate, look at your week that passed. You know, is that a good challenge for you? Have you been thinking of others? Have you been God's butler, as Peace Pilgrim used to say? So that's one of the ways that I think she was a great example. Anybody else have another one that comes to mind? Or
Well, I was just going to say that Swami Sheshananda was like that with
ah,
and people all over the world. And he would, hook people up with services or help or anyway. It was really quite, I don't know how he had all the time. I mean, it was amazing what he did. But,
yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
it's important that we emulate, as much as we can, particularly, checking in,
Especially, yeah,
yeah, doing what you can.
right.
These holy people and avatars can do a lot more than us, but yeah, it's
No, that's absolutely true. That's absolutely true. We're not definitely don't we don't measure ourselves by this. You know, because our value comes through grace. our value is because Mother loves us, and so that's the only value in us. She placed her Satchitananda in us. So yeah, yeah, and he was a direct disciple of Holy Mother. So he got those habits directly from her. So he's almost a validation for what we're reading.
Oh, it was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. He'd be on the phone for hours with people.
Wow.
I mean, it was unbelievable what he did. Yeah.
Ah, fantastic. Fantastic.
I think here in our community, our little tribe, Facebook really provides a lot of correspondence, and we can keep up on people that are in the hospital and
Nice. Does anybody maintain anything like that, or is it just kind of?
people that need. It's pretty community.
Uh-huh.
Well, they're actually having a program and kind of it's been a bit sticky lately where they have a community feed for the homeless here. And that's just been people from the community are just doing it themselves. And it's been kind of having a bit of a run-in with the city council. And so that's been kind of a big deal. But people just kind of cook, and then they have one day a week they meet downtown at the park. But it's getting a little bit of pushback lately. But
we do it here in Portland. Our center does it in Portland. And I know the Santa Barbara nuns would feed the homeless once a.
Yeah, they still do that. Yeah.
We do it like once a month at a homeless shelter, house, and apartments at a hotel.
Yeah, and incidentally, through the nuns in Santa Barbara doing that, I know of a devotee that started coming to the center because the food that the nuns brought to the homeless shelter was the best food that was being delivered, and they thought that was a big enough statement to them about being interested in who the nuns were and what they were, and is now a devotee in Hollywood because of the nuns taking that special time, because the nuns in it. Do we need to say that they're amazing cooks? I mean, in Santa Barbara, they really
this, this is rather a.
Oh, we lost the.
You froze, Lynette.
Yeah, she froze.
Make a gesture. Yeah, there's
Oh,
not.
there you go. Oops. Uh-oh. We're not getting your message, but we love it.
It's mostly Native Americans.
What is mostly Native Americans?
Maybe she should turn off her
the
camera.
reaching out the home.
Oh, I see. Very nice.
It's my.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an amazing thing that there's a pushback, because I know that I don't know. I don't want to go into the politics of the day, but this is a really ugly thing that's happening in quite a few places. Actually, I've seen it, a lot of news online of this pushback. So that's our call. that's our call. Stand up, for the unprotected.
I was wondering, Swami, what is this pushback? Why would they have it? What is the reasoning?
They don't like these people hanging out in the park. They don't like them putting their
Oh,
tents up nearby. They don't want to encourage homeless people being attracted to a place that's serving them. They're not
my
very
God.
good reasons. There's no good reasons, but those are the reasons. Yeah,
I see. Thank you, Swami.
sure.
Swamiji, we have something similar here in Australia. There's like a real crackdown on homeless people. Like a
Uh,
lot of the local councils, like they'll see them setting up tents for shelter because they've got nowhere to go. And
right.
then council officers come along and just move them on. Even if there are people in vans sleeping,
Uh-huh.
they get targeted and they get moved on. So it seems to be in a lot of countries. It's really bad in Australia as well, the growing homelessness. It's
Yeah,
quite sad.
it is sad because that's the politicians' answer. They're not willing to do what it's going to take to fix the problem, but they have to get voted back into office, so they look tough on homeless. Because I know in just the last year here in the States, I mean, homeless have lost the right to use public land to stay on. They've lost the right to park, to sleep in their vehicles. They've lost the right to lay down on the sidewalk. It's like you just look at the things, the way that things are going. And like in LA, the average apartment monthly apartment is now up to $3,000. How what? And if you can't afford that, oh my God, where are you going to go? You can't sleep on the ground. You can't put up a tent. You can't sleep in your car. What are you supposed to do? Where are you supposed to go? How are you supposed to get help?
And there are not enough shelter beds.
No, and those shelters are so
Not enough
dangerous.
mental health or alcohol and drug treatment. Yeah.
Yeah. You see, so until we really become unselfish, there's not an answer. And so this is our opportunity. There's a big need, and it's getting bigger.
And it's going to get bigger, I think,
Yeah.
with Trump being president.
Yeah, it's quite possible. Yes, absolutely. But I know one of our devotees, one of the ladies that's been coming to our class. She lives in a very small apartment, and she just had a unhoused woman move in with her, to share her apartment with her, and they have this nice agreement that woman's going to cook for her. And in exchange for the cooking for her, she's going to be allowed to live in her apartment like that. And I saw that, and her response, as she was sharing it with me, I was quite nervous for her. I was like, "You're having an unhoused person just move into your apartment like that?" And she's like, "Yes, isn't it wonderful? Oh, I'm looking so forward to having her. She's so sweet." I loved her whole attitude about it. Her whole positivity about it. No fear. She understood that there were some possible issues, but she was like, she really saw the context. She saw this person having a home is so much more important than any of my requirements. So yeah,
Very brave, Swami.
very brave, very brave.
Yeah.
And just very kind as well. So this is Holy Mother. This is why we're reading about her, to see, to see what is it to be a human being. What is it to be unselfish? What does it look like to have Mother's heart? To just look around us for opportunities to help out, to take care, and to lift up. So wonderful. Chapter 25, the Mother of All. Oh, and one of my favorite pictures of the Holy Mother, right there. Isn't that just a dreamy picture of her? I love it. Always have. Mother of all, salutations to the Divine Mother, who exists in all beings as the Mother. Salutations to her again and again. Indeed. Jai Ma. Ordinary people think of a mother as a woman who gives birth to children, raises them, takes care of the household, and holds the family together. She might not be as physically strong as a man, but she is more patient and has more perseverance and endurance than most men. Her love and affection, her selfless service and care, her compassion and forgiveness make her great. In fact, a mother or wife is the anchor of a house, and without her, the house seems like a desert. The Hindu scripture says, Grihini griham uchyate. A housewife makes the house. There is another old saying, men make houses and women make homes. The Hindu scripture says that all women in the world are parts of the Divine Mother, but they cannot be considered the mother of all because they have a limitation. They do not feel and care for the children of others as they do for their own. But Holy Mother was truly the mother of all because she was an incarnation of the Divine Mother. She knew that she exists in all beings as the mother, and that all beings and all living beings, men and women, birds and beasts, trees and plants, emerged from her cosmic body. There is a prayer in the Chandi, O Mother, you are the infinite power of God and the supreme Maya, which is the source of the universe. O Devi, you have enchanted the whole world with your divine enchantment. When you are gracious, you bestow liberation upon human beings. Mother of the universe. In the Vedanta tradition, a person's spiritual experience is ascertained in two ways. Swa-samvedya, which means those thoughts and spiritual visions that are seen within one's own self and which are known only to oneself, and para-samvedya, which means a person's thoughts and experiences that are visible to others. Holy Mother herself declared that she was the mother of the universe, and her life, her speech, her actions, and her dealings with people convinced others that her statement was true. Ras Behari, later Swami Arupananda, a young man from East Bengal, went to meet Holy Mother at Jairambati on the 1st of February, 1907. She was very fond of him because of his simplicity and his guilelessness, and she made him one of her attendants. He was also very free with the mother. The following dialogue between the two reveals Holy Mother's true nature. He wrote, I used to visit the mother almost daily in her room. She would lie down on her bed and talk to me, with Radhu lying asleep by her side. An oil lamp cast a dim light in the room. On some days, a maidservant rubbed her feet with medicated oil for rheumatism. One day she said to me in the course of a conversation, whenever the thought of a disciple comes to my mind and I yearn to see him, then he either comes here or writes a letter to me. You must have come here prompted by a certain feeling. Perhaps you have in your mind the thought of the Divine Mother of the universe. Are you the mother of all? I asked. Yes. Even the subhuman beings like birds and animals? Yes, of those also. Then why should they suffer so much? In this birth, they must have these experiences. According to Vedanta, Brahman is existence, consciousness, bliss, absolute. Brahman is neither he nor she, but when the power of Brahman takes a form, it can be either Purusha or Prakriti, he or she. Moreover, the personal God can be both father and mother. A devotee once questioned by Holy Mother's active role in the Master's spiritual ministry, saying that the spiritual consorts of other avatars did not take such roles. The devotee asked why she was different. She replied, my son, you are aware that the Master saw the Divine Mother in all beings. This time, he left me behind to demonstrate the motherhood in this universe. Yes. I don't know. I always feel somewhat tentative about saying too much about these gender roles and mother and me. Because I'm obviously a male, and so I obviously have male perspectives. which terrify me. And so, but this whole wonderful notion, of the motherhood that we read here in the beginning, that the mother is the anchor of the house, and without her, the house is a desert. That men make houses and women make homes. This is very true. I mean, it's one of those things the reason I'm kind of tentative about it, I got in trouble once I was at a women's poetry reading, and how I ended up there, who knows, but I was there and I was allowed to be there. And, they were sharing poetry. And so we were talking about these kinds of things. And I just brought up the point that I was always kind of in awe or in appreciation of women and their ability to nurture and to, and their relationship with their children. How as a man, I felt quite in awe of a woman's relationship with her children, because it's something I could have no idea about, because they'd been her body, they'd been in her body and part of her body for 9 months, and all the pains and process of birthing, is her investment in that child. And then the feminine body is designed, to nurture the baby and to feed the baby, take care of the baby. And as a guy, all I could do is stand there and watch, and maybe pass out in the hospital room during birth, or something. But there's no involvement like that. And I mentioned that I really felt quite an amount of awe for that. And I learned at that point that some ladies, some women, resent that. They don't like being expected to nurture and expected to be the mother of the home and expected to all that. And I understand that. I saw that. But at the same time, I just can't imagine not valuing that in being a woman, because as a man and not having access to it, and of course, as a monk, doesn't make that much difference in my life. But I think of whenever I see moms and dads with their kid, I always think of what a beautiful tie that must be for a woman to really have that, to be able. And I do think that because of that, women do have a greater ability at patience, at understanding, at nurturing, at loving. You just look away at the way a mother handles a baby, and you look at the way a man handles a baby. Just totally two different. Both of them necessary, both of them beautiful in their way, but you can see that there is difference. That we're not the same thing. And we shouldn't be treated as the same thing, And I really feel like there should be a chance to honor the strengths of women, which often get taken for granted, I think, and get overlooked. And so I want this to be an opportunity to say thank you to all of you ladies, whether you're mothers or not, for the natural gifts that you have to nurture us and to encourage each other, encourage this group. And I think that this group has lots of women in it. And I think that that's one of the reasons that there's such a sweetness to it, such a beauty to it. So I want to make sure that gets said. I want to make sure that gets honored, and just kind of place that out there and let you know that's on my mind. And I hope you take it only in good ways, so I don't get myself in trouble again.
I just want to say, Swami, see,
Yes.
you have your own sweetness, and that's why we're gravitated towards you. So
Oh,
you have your own motherly side.
yes, I borrow mine from mom, from the mother. I borrow everything from, as we all do, actually. Holy Mother as protector. Prabodh Chandra Chattopadhyaya and his wife were disciples of Holy Mother. They lived in Shyambazar village, which is about 12 miles from Jairambati. Inspired by the mother, Prabodh started a high school in Badanganj and became the first headmaster of that school. Rame, later Swami Gaurishwarananda, was one of the first students. Prabodh was also the president of the village union board, but because of his popularity, he had some enemies. His son, Shiva Prasad Chattopadhyaya, wrote, "I heard this incident from my father. Once he was visiting Jairambati. A man came there and gave him a letter with this message: 'Please return to your home this evening.' My father got ready to return home and went to bow down to the mother. At that time, a few villagers had some enmity against my father for various reasons. It came to light later that there was a plot to murder my father that very evening near a secluded canal on his way home. My goodness, that's unexpected. Upon hearing of the letter, the mother asked my father, "Do you recognize the handwriting of the person who has written this letter?" "Yes, I do, mother." "Do you know the person who has come with the letter?" "No, mother, I don't know him." Then mother said, "My son, do not go home tonight. Tomorrow morning, go home through a different route via Maragir with the watchmen Ambika and Ramai." My father bowed down to the mother and said, "All right, mother, I shall not go tonight. I shall go tomorrow, according to your instruction." The next morning, he returned home with Ambika and Ramai via Maragir. My father later said, "I never disobeyed the mother's order, whatever it might be. My father did not know about the murder plot, but the omniscient mother knew it. Later, I heard from my father that a case was concocted so that he should return home that night. Long after my father's passing away, I verified this incident, which took place in 1917 through Swami Gaurishwarananda." Wow. Well, there's a good reason to obey mother. Like that. The story of a Muslim bandit named Amzad also shows how Holy Mother protected those who took refuge in her. It is a fascinating tale of a Muslim robber who became a devotee of the Mother and played a wonderful role in her divine drama. Human beings are not born with friends or enemies. They make friends, and they make enemies through their actions and their words. There is a saying, "A small-minded person discriminates between a relative and a stranger, but all are considered relatives to a great soul." The life and teachings of an avatar or an illumined soul are not the exclusive property of a particular clan, of a particular religion, of a particular country. They belong to the whole of humanity. Their universal outlook breaks all barriers between human beings and religions. Holy Mother made Muslims and Christians her own through her maternal love and affection. The story of Amzad. Shiro, Manipur is a predominantly Muslim village located about 3 miles from Jairambati. Its inhabitants were forced by the English to make their living by cultivating silkworms. But the local silk industry could not compete with imported silk industries, so the villagers lost their jobs. Growing silk had kept them from cultivating rice and crops, so they had no food. To survive, they were forced to become bandits. The neighboring villagers were afraid and kept a vigilant eye on them. People refused to give them jobs, thinking that they might return at night to steal. As the saying goes, bad times do not come alone. In 1915/16, there was a drought and a famine in Bankura district. The poor had no food, so they became desperate. During this time, a Muslim villager named Amzad was caught in a robbery and sent to jail. Amzad's mother, Fatima, and his wife, Matijan, came to the Holy Mother for help. She fed them puffed rice and molasses and then gave them rice, oil, cloths, and a rupee. When news of her assistance spread, other Muslim families came to the mother, and she helped them. I'm sorry about that. My phone rang on my iPad. Other Muslim families came to the mother, and she helped them also. Eventually, the Ramakrishna Mission opened a relief center in Kolpara for the destitute. The rich and middle-class people of Sihar, Jipta, Pului, and Shyambazar remained indifferent. This is a beautiful, we don't really get a good appreciation, although we still have an appreciation of it here. That mother really, within her cultural tradition at the time, she would have lost caste for doing this. And yet she was willing to feed this person, invite them into her home, to provide for them, that her kamash, and she didn't ask anything in return. She understood the oneness of religion and everybody is on the path that they need to be on. And she freely reached across those lines to serve and to care and to provide. And I think that's just a beautiful example that she did that so willingly. And she was a village woman, raised with very little education. It's not like she went and hung out in some cosmopolitan city and got some ideas about the world at large. She was raised in a country situation, and it was through her knowledge of herself as the Divine Mother and the Mother of the universe that she knew, that she saw and experienced the world as her own, and took every living thing as being her child and dedicated her life to that. Especially when nobody else was doing it. She mentions here that none of the other villages were helping because that was a Muslim village, so they wouldn't reach out. And the government wasn't helping. And so eventually, through Holy Mother again, the Ramakrishna order got involved and became, a relief service for them, regardless of religion or caste. So again, just things to remember, things to know, that we don't have boundaries on our service. We don't have boundaries on our concern or on our care for others. All these years, the mother was living in her old cottage and using her two brothers' cottages for her disciples and her out-of-town guests. As the number of disciples was increasing, Swami Sharadananda felt that the mother needed a house of her own. Construction began on her new house in April of 1915, and it formally opened on the 15th of May, 1916. Vibhuti Ghosh, the mother's disciple, hired Amzad and other Muslim workers to construct the house, which had a thatched roof, a mud floor, and mud walls. Swami Arupananda was in charge of the construction. Some narrow-minded, fearful villagers tried to discourage Holy Mother from hiring convicted thieves, but she did not listen to them. She treated the Muslim workers with kindness and talked to them in her soft, sweet voice. Those Muslim workers, many of whom were formerly bandits, called her mother. Observing their good behavior, the villagers later said, "By Mother's grace, even these robbers have become devotees of God." Indeed, that's important to know. The only healing feeling, this is one of the reasons that I went through the last few days because of the political environment. I've kind of gone through and adjusted all of my preferences in my like on YouTube and whatnot, because I've decided I just don't want to hear all of the stuff that's going on, and I don't want to get pulled into these very emotional arguments. And I struggle from that. It's easy for me to get hooked on those things. It's easy for me to get riled up inside and to feel that anger. And sometimes that anger, feels like the right thing. It's like, but it's not, and it's very dangerous. Because it turns us against each other, and it breaks down this notion of oneness, this notion of care and love for each other. And so I say to us as a group in the times that we're walking into, regardless of your politics, it's not that's important. Be careful, because people who are in charge are using fear and hatred and prejudices, whether it's religion or skin color or whatnot, to really push forward their own agendas. And it's really a time for us to be children of the mother. It's really time for us to pull together and protect your own mind. Don't subject yourself to these things. I would highly recommend, that you find a print way of getting your news so that you're not in a passive state when the news comes to you, so that you can choose what to let into your mind and what not to let into your mind. And you can choose the time and the mood that you're in when you let those things into your mind, so that you can be careful. So guard your mind in these times. Don't let it be manipulated in very subtle ways by people who are very good at manipulation. It's their job and their career to do so. To not be affected by that, so that we can do as much as possible to keep an open heart, to keep a heart of service, and have a certain amount of optimism. Don't let the mind cycle in, make bad assumptions, make only the negative assumptions about the future or about what's being done. Try in your own self to generate positive things by thinking about God, thinking about the Divine Mother, thinking about this. Get lost in service, get lost in love, get lost in being advocates for the people who may be under attack, who may be, suffering. And for us to develop eyes, these difficult times, whether or not, and even if you don't agree that it's a difficult time, that's also fine. We'll just say in all times. It's very important for us to be aware of the people that need help around us and to wake up our Satchitananda, that divine principle that is our very own, and allow it to manifest, allow it to manifest, to really vibrate and put off its love and its wisdom in these days and these times. And we have to do that for the people that we might be the most angry at. We may have to do this for the people that are openly offending us in coming days, but that makes no difference. And if we start now making this commitment to ourselves and being sincere and earnest, which means rather serious about protecting our mind and protecting our attitude and holding on to our optimism and our openness, this is really the time we're being called to that. The rest of the country, my mother may be testing them, she may be challenging them, she may be giving them payment for past karma, who knows? But for us, as the children of the Mother, we're standing at the opening of a great opportunity to practice and to love. And as just coming together with this group, I pray that we become this light. And I pray for myself, mostly because I'm terrified. But for all of us to really hang on to our principles, because it's our lives that help, not our beliefs, not our religion, not our philosophies, not our intentions. It's what we actually do in the moment that will make a difference in someone's life, in someone's heart. And so let's keep our focus there and talk about, if actually I'd like to give us a space of permission in all of our classes, that if you have done something nice, if you have gone out and fed the homeless, if you have given someone a home, if you have been nice to someone who was rude to you, I encourage you to share that. Don't worry about egoism and about telling people how good you are for a while, because we're going to get plenty of bad stuff and challenging stuff coming at us. This can be a place where we can encourage each other by letting each other know, yes, I'm not caught. We're going forward in this. Today I went out and I did this and I did this and I did this. I'm not telling you because I'm proud. I'm telling you to encourage you to know that not all is bad. Not everything is negative, and that we still are in charge of our destiny in the moment, by exercising our ability to take the moment and to create gold out of it.
But, and also, Swami, you touched on it, but for those of us who are inclined, I think it is important to reach out to those who are really scared and feeling disenfranchised, particularly,
Absolutely.
trans, queer, Black, and also, these mass deportations that they're talking about. It's so important. And
Yes.
get resources. And tell them just simple words. You are not alone. I am here for you and I love you.
Yeah.
People are really scared, Swami.
Yes. No, I understand.
And refugees, all of this, they are scared.
Yeah. The most vulnerable are
most vulnerable, and they use that. So don't, just to check in. Hey, how you doing? Let's go have a cup of coffee.
Yes.
I had a lovely neighbor who's trans, totally alienated by his family, and it meant so much to them, excuse me, that
Yes.
I reached out and loved them.
Absolutely.
So that's my two, and if there are resources for people.
Yeah, and so maybe if
very-
somebody does have good list, well, no, because we're all in different places in the
Yeah.
world.
Well, like let's see if there's a Latina network or an immigration lawyer, if people are worried that relatives are going to be deported. And, you know, refugee centers, and then, of course, LGBTQ places, you know, resources. It's just really important. Or just say, hey, I'm here. I love you. I'm thinking of you.
Maharaj, also, like
Yeah.
I'm in a senior living community.
Uh-huh.
Already, I see the difference in how some people are treating the servers, the nurses, aides already.
Really.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Well, this is our opportunity, you guys. This is
Stand up.
Cleaning ladies.
Stand up. Stand up.
yeah. This
And-
is our opportunity to serve, and there's no limit to what you can do. Dream big, you know, dream big, let go of the ego and jump in and roll up your sleeves and love and love and love and love and love. Our practice is not for our realization alone. It's for the good of humanity as well. And this is what we do. You know, this is who we are.
What I've been doing in my yoga classes this last week is I did Triste, closing the eyes, going inward, opening the eyes, looking outward, and kind of going into some basic meditation things of what is real, what is the reality, closing our eyes. This is our reality. Looking outward, that is not the reality. And I'm in South Dakota, so I mean these are pretty important aspects, and that's
Yeah.
how I've kind of been dealing with my yoga students, just that we're all in the same boat, you know, that we're all going to get screwed.
Yeah, so hopefully not. But that's absolutely right. Make sure right now, not only are we putting out our sensitivity and keeping our eyes open for service, but remember, you can't be of service if you don't have your own refuge well established within.
Exactly.
You have to have a place where you go to be nurtured in the company of the beloved of your divine mother. You have to have a place in your shrine in the heart where you can sit in that atmosphere regardless of what's going on out here in the world of change, in the world of sense. So you know, take care of yourselves through your practice, and it's through your practice alone that you will find your strength, and that you'll be able to serve and help at that level. You know.
I have,
Fun.
I have a little, it's not a meme, but it's a little statement that a friend circulated. Keep fighting for the good. Keep showing up. Keep loving. Keep giving back. Keep being kind. Keep being brave. Keep caring. Keep trying new things. Keep showing grace. Keep on. This world needs you to believe in the good.
Yes. There you go.
You all
Funny.
know all this, but yeah.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. It's wonderful. And you know, it's 7:05, so we'll stop here
Swami,
for the day. Yes, Rangu.
Hi, Rangu. I didn't mean to cut you off, dear.
it's all right. It was beautiful what you read. Yeah. In this context, I'm praying for everybody to spare a thought for the Palestinian people
Yes,
also.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. No, that's
I-
always
Terrible what's happening to them.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and for the Israelis, you know, it's like we can't put any one block of people and say that they all think alike, you know, because we all don't think alike, and we have to remember that we can't say that country is that and that country is that. It's always individuals, and so always keep your eyes on the individuals. Don't let the prejudices come in.
Oh, yeah.
Don't let the stories, you know, color it. But yes, definitely, with that genocide going on, they're in a desperate need, and that destruction of their country outrageous. You know, but
Yeah, there's a beautiful book out called The Message by Ta-Nehisi Coates that you all
Yes.
should read.
Yeah.
And you know, there was a big Palestinian literary meeting this weekend, I believe in New York, and 2,000 people came. Did you see that, Rangu? With
No, I didn't know about that.
And Ta-Nehisi?